It is semifinals time. Who's going to take it all the way? These players are at least sitting pretty. They're sitting happy because in top four, you're in the money. Out of the full $730 here in today's prize pool, they're at least walking away with that minimum 10% of that, and then up to at least 50%. So that is a big amount of money these guys are playing for. So a lot on the line. Let's see who's going to be finding themselves in that finals position. But first things first, they got to get through these semifinals.
Yep, and very quickly out of the gate, we see Twin Poros. Not exactly the matchup you want to see them in, but it is a unit, and units can turn into other units with Darius, right? With that baited hook card.
Exactly right, especially when we're considering the fact that it's double Triferian War Camp. So Baited Hook is going to be looking for things of 4 in their deck out of the top 5 cards. So starting things off, Batsu, I believe Batsu's on the left. Oh, I have Victor up. Shame on me. I have Victor. It's a Darius. There he goes. Yeah, so just getting his first point online with that little pouty Poro. Let's see what else he decides to play, and we have seen him play it before. Is the seal, the yellow seal. So let's see how much value it pays off. Even better is that you get the Legion online for the Vanguard. So developing that left side Triferian War Camp very well early on.
Yeah, and when you get all these tokens established on the War Camp, it can get kind of hard to push them off. Obviously, both Darius opting for the War Camp, as it has such nice synergy with the baited hook, right? Getting your units bigger means that you can hit bigger units off of the hook. That being said, I'm not going to spoil lists, but it does, I would say it probably favors Batsu a little bit.
Okay.
As you can immediately see, there is a unit we do not traditionally see in the Darius deck.
Yeah, a Soaring Scout, are you referring to?
Yes.
Okay, perhaps a little bit of indication that we're trying to see some more runes, trying to go a little bit later game. So I see what NA is referring to. Potentially this more aggressive deck could get the upper hand early on, but sometimes those late game type decks, if you're able to stabilize, if you're able to hold the horses down, you kind of do have that upper hand in that late game, of course. So let's see how it ends up playing out, because so far so good if you're Batsu, going up to 2 points already, having a well-developed board in terms of that left or right, we'll call it the northern Triferian War Camp, since it's at the top side.
Yeah, for sure. Though, nice to see neither player hitting hook, at least opting not to play them yet, as we do get to see a more even game. It would be unfortunate to see one player hit the hook and then pop off. Am I going to be proven a liar here?
And you manifested it, NA. The baited hook is going to be coming in. Legion going to be deployed onto the Triferian. So he's just trying to hold that battlefield down. So many recruit tokens, total of 4. So how much might is in that? That's 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. And then the 3. So 19 total might, if I did my quick maths right. So much already.
Yeah, that's really hard to push off unless you have your own tokens. In which case, I mean, it's not too difficult. But no token units seen yet for our if we're going in cardinal directions, our East Darius, MLGesus.
That is right. And I'm so curious because you mentioned before he has a little bit more of a spicier Darius list, and he's found himself all the way in these semifinals. He took down, I mean, if you guys remember what we said, there was 2 Teemos, 2 Setts, 2 Darius, a Kaiser, and a Master Yi to round out the full top 8 players, right? So I think MLGesus took down the only Kaiser player that made it into the top 8 cut. So if it was good enough to take down a Kaiser, we'll see how good it is to take out an opposing Darius. Potentially wasn't prepared to verse the mirror match, because a lot of Darius players, they're good into other decks, but when it comes to going against yourself, you don't really have so many reps in. But who knows the deck better than the deck you're playing with, right? So you know what you should be expecting, but are the decks exactly the same? I don't think so, is what we've been saying. So we'll see. We'll see how these guys play things out.
Yeah, Darius champion unit being played a little bit early here. Maybe going for a big push already onto the... Oh, okay, we're hiding a card. That's interesting. You don't really see Darius hide cards very often, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I could only speculate that that might just be that hidden blade to not only get the +2 draws, you do get that channel rune, so it's kind of like a little sacrificial bird, if you will. So throwing it back over to Batsu, he's gonna get the hold point on the war camp, so gonna go up to 3 himself. Has 7 runes to work with, so enough to get something off, or 7 runes plus the Darius ability, making that 8 total energy to work with in this turn. So it can play his own Darius out, but you only really have to take care of a little soaring scout, so maybe wait on that champion unit. And first things first, the baited hook coming on. We saw hit after hit from Batsu on those matron games. He's gonna be taking a sacrifice on the Vanguard, so looking for anything 5 might or more, or 5 might or less rather. I think that's pretty much the whole deck, right? Anything he's able to hit.
Yeah, and hitting a matron here would be insane, as we have obviously just gotten rid of our captain. So, ooh, there we go. There it is. Fun times.
Man, Batsu should play the lottery as soon as he can. He is on hot hands today. Every single baited hook, it feels like he's running so hot, getting the matrons. If he hits another matron later on in this game, we might just have to call the judge, as you said before. And I kid, of course.
Yeah, that is a hefty battlefield with the war camp. Just 12 might and tokens. 12 might and tokens. It is, without your own set of tokens, it can be really hard to beat the war camp on the, with all the tokens. That being said, it is just game 1, and even though we have not seen any tokens from MLGesus yet, there's still game 2 and 3, which potentially might favor, with the bigger units that... Well, we can't say bigger units. We haven't seen any, but we have not seen any token generators. So maybe opting to play some more higher impact units when you are not on battlefield. But as you said before, being able to use the hidden blade here on the scout, which gives not only the ramp, but then the draw too. So you get right what you paid for it, right? You said hide that for a power and get a power back. So.
Exactly right. And it looks like he does forego gaining a point, because it looks like Batsu wasn't necessarily trying to conquer the southern war camp, so he could have earned himself a point, but prioritizing that card advantage. Because if we look at the card discrepancy between both of these players, one of these players has about almost triple the amount of cards. 2 cards in Batsu. If he gets rid of another one, yeah, I mean, his cards are on the board, though. Triple Captain Vanguard. This is impressive. I've never seen a more formidable war camp in my life.
They're all played from hand, too. Those weren't hit off a hook, were they?
Well, what do you mean? Off the baited hook? One of them was, right? From Matron. One of them was.
Yeah. I mean, like, he played all 3 from hand, right? So his hand was like triple.
And true. Yeah, they all came from the hand. Absolutely.
Yeah. So pretty solid. I mean, 1 card in hand, but there aren't a ton of cards in the red yellow color that are gonna deal with such a wide battlefield here. There's like strategy, but there aren't tokens to back up the strategy, so it doesn't really work, right? So I think this battlefield is kind of insurmountable this game. Do you see any ways that he could take this?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what are potential outs. I mean, at this point, you would have to be playing like the blue color for unchecked power, because I don't see it. There's just not a lot of cards in Order and Fury that can get rid of such an abundance of units on a single battlefield. I mean, sometimes a Darius cleave, double Darius can get things done, being a total of 20 or 17 total might, but this is just a little out of hand. We're not even taking into account the recruit tokens. You guys can't even see on screen. There's 8 total recruit tokens, a little bit above the Poro. So if you just add that up, I'll let you guys do the math at home. There's just not too much you're going to be able to do. I mean, he's thinking about it. He at least conquered the southern one, so going to be going up a point, drawing 1. But yeah, let's see how he approaches this, because that's just too many tokens, too many units, and Darius isn't known for killing so many. Even with like an Imperial Decree, you just don't have enough units to evenly trade at this point.
Yeah, and so for anybody who doesn't want to do the math, I believe it is like around 39 might. So just a little
There
bit.
we go. Thank you, NA. Saving us
Of
from the
course.
troubles here. But does
But
push in the Darius just to try to dwindle that battlefield down, because you have to get it down eventually, or else Batsu's just going to keep running away with this game.
yep, I mean 9 in does at least get a little bit out. There's still a lot there. The tokens, a little off screen. I can't see how many tokens are
I
gone. I
believe
think is
8.
it 7?
7 now.
7?
7 now.
Okay. So what we got 14, and then so 14 plus 17,
I think 30
21,
now.
26. Yes, 30.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. He's choosing to play units onto the other war camp, right?
Yeah, perhaps trying to go toe for toe, but the point tempo is favoring Batsu so far. He's going to be the one going up to 8 points first if they're going to be playing the hold the battlefield game plan. So it does go up to 4 this turn, but Batsu doesn't necessarily have anything in the base right now, so he can't really contest the southern war camp at this very turn. Of course, there are accelerated or like accelerated units like a Darius or a Kaiser, but that might not be enough. Thinking about that hidden card, we saw a hidden blade already, so I would be a little wary of trying to conquer that so easily.
We're gonna see another matron. I would not be happy if we saw another.
That is a high roll indeed. He put one out, and he always builds the suspense. He could play it, but okay, it's a Draven, but hey, no slouch himself. A Draven is a powerhouse of a unit. Already has 7 since he has 4 total points so far, but only 2 cards in hand. What can these last 2 cards be? You know, we didn't really see any grand stratagems in the previous Batsu games, right?
Yeah, maybe he's opted to cut down on them. I mean, they're good, but Darius sometimes, especially in the more competitive games where it's like back and forth and both players are actually doing things, it can be hard to make sure you have enough runes for the stratagem, because Darius does, if you don't find the seal, have to kind of aggressively recycle with the hooks and the matrons and the captains and all these cards that do require a lot of recycling. So if you don't see the seals, it can be really hard to find the power for it. So potentially he's cut down on it. I don't know if he has, but it is definitely a option for him. That being said, I mean, the war camp doing plenty for him here.
Yeah, and it was indeed a hidden blade, so gonna be letting go of the Pouty Poro for the draw too. And I like this from MLGesus. He's prioritizing card advantage. As we said before, Batsu just a single card in hand, and on the other side of the board, 2, 4, 6 total cards. So one of them feeling a little bit better, and a card that NA mentioned before the break or during the break. MLGesus running something we have rarely, maybe never seen. I think the screen's a little bit frozen. I'll unfreeze here shortly. But a Harness Dragon in a Darius deck. How are you feeling about the NA?
It's definitely a cool card, and it has seen a little bit of success in there was, I believe, a Shanghai Darius list that did play this, so maybe MLGesus took some inspiration, or maybe even started brewing his own thing and came to a similar decision on, or a similar avenue of which he wanted to take the deck down. I mean, it's a pretty strong unit. It doesn't lose to Defy, it doesn't lose to Windwall, it doesn't lose to Spirit, so it represents like a really good answer into stuff like Yi, where they have this big unit that they want to keep around, and you just say, hey, nope, it's dead. And because its power is like relatively low for what it does, is if he does play Hook, we haven't seen one. I'm assuming there is one because it is Darius, but you could hit a 6 off of a 5, which
Right.
Which again we don't know. But for instance, we did see the Dangerous Duo that can buff stuff up when it's played. You can have like other buff spells that the color does have access to that. Traditionally, Darius does not play, but the Shanghai list, for instance, played Karma, which is a buff on play. So you could potentially buff something and then try and hit like the dragon. Also 6 might, so anything that does hit into a dragon will also hit into a karma.
Yeah, let's see the roll around one more time. Can he hit something good? He decided to sacrifice the Triferian Glory Seeker, which did have the buff, so base 3, and then the War Camp, bringing it up to 4, so he's hunting down a 5 might unit. Could hit a Darius if he hits one. Could, of course, hit the second matron of the game. He already has a Vanguard. Actually, I believe all 3 Captain Vanguards are in the trash currently, since they're not on the War Camp. Still those 7 units off to the side for anyone interested on how powerful or how much of a stronghold Batsu has so far on the Northern War Camp. And does it a Kaiser? He has it ready. I would imagine he's paying the additional costs? Or no, wait.
Yes, you do still have to pay Accelerate.
Yeah, he didn't pay it, right?
Wait, so he went 1,
Oh,
2,
maybe
3,
he
4.
tapped one, recycled one, and floated.
Yeah, it might have been that.
It might have been.
But...
Chat, you guys let us know if we missed it, but it looks like he's able to take down the southern one, and now definitely leaning towards a victory shortly. He doesn't have too much in the back line. He does have, as we mentioned, that big hold on the war camp above, but he kind of leaves that war camp below a little bit exposed. If there's any way MLGesus could kind of try to clear the board a bit on that top one, maybe there's a window of opportunity for ML to come back on this, but it looks like Batsu looking pretty good, at least in this game 1.
Yeah, this is pretty rough, especially with the bounced vein. That does represent a threat on the south war camp as well, so you do have to be able to defend against at least 5 if you do put a unit there. And if you don't put a unit there, then there potentially is like a accelerate off of the Darius in hand. Actually, you do know you lose to board, right? Because you have to pay 4 for Darius and 4 for Vayne and 5 for Darius, which does give you enough for the to push Darius up onto the war camp, even if you don't put something there. But choosing to pull everything back, I mean, the tokens are a lot to get through. So not only do you have to get through the tokens, and you're gonna have to hold against a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
at least
Because again, it's Vayne and Darius.
Exactly. At the very least, you know you're getting a lot of trade value. So left 7 tokens, so effectively 14 might, add a little bit more. Total of 17 total might on the Northern War Camp. So has to pay a quite a hefty fine to try to conquer that, but going the easy route so far. So just getting the conquer, getting one more draw to see all available tools to him this very turn. I mean, plenty runes to work with, as I always say. Can those runes benefit him this turn? Is there anything? If only there was a spell that did 1, or I guess in this situation it has to be 2 damage to every unit on the battlefield, but that sounds like another color or another domain.
Yeah, unfortunate stuff here. It is 9 runes up. Does have 6 cards in hand, whereas Batsu, we know everything. It's the Vayne.
Oh, and that is a scoop. So the recruits were too strong. Batsu going to be taking game number 1 of our semifinals. Yeah, I could only agree more. I think this is going to be a good game. Game number 2. Let's see if MLGesus is able to bring us into that notorious game 3. We would love to see that. But maybe Batsu just understands the matchup. At least in that very first game 1, it looked like he really understood what he had to get done. He developed the board as strongly as he could, as fast as he could, and never really let go. I think he got 3 total points plus the other 2 conquers to just close things out and making it so difficult for MLGesus to get anything done. He was just having to force, and there it goes. Speak of the devil, baited hook will be the very first card deployed for ML.
Yeah, and ML opted to go second this game, so definitely a bit different. I like it in the Darius deck, specifically because of the Darius Legend. Does give you the ability to go double 2-drop with the Legion, but obviously did not see that and saw the hook. But hook is not bad, so definitely can't complain too much.
Yeah, trying to set things up for the future. But Batsu doing what he was doing somewhat similar in that game one, just conquering a board or conquering a battlefield, this occasion being the Zone Wars, and then just trying to continue to develop units onto that battlefield. We'll see if that strategy or that game plan ends up working out for him this time around. Not as crazy as we saw in game one, but little by little, it can start to get a little bit crazy.
Yeah, the Poro's not super value into this matchup, but I think at this point he's like, I want the bodies, develop the bodies, potentially threaten the Candlelit on the next turn. Generally on these aggro decks, you do want to go even points. So if he does end up holding, which he probably will here, you go into 2-3, which is fine. As I do expect the battlefields to be more contested this game around because there isn't a wall of 20 might tokens.
Right.
I kind of curious to see what our play here for MLGesus. Wow, okay, paying 5?
If he's tapping 5, the only play I can consider here is something like a Darius, tap your legend for the cleave. So he's recycling a red, looking at that champion. If he has a cleave in hand, he's going to be swinging in for a total 10 might. He's reluctant. He's saying, wait a minute, I might not have the cleave. I already recycled the rune. That's almost committing to the play. If that was Houston rules, I don't even know at this point.
Yeah, we haven't seen a cleave out from him either. That is another card that I don't know if the Shanghai list was playing. Oh, this is interesting.
Very interesting. We don't get to see it too often because when you play me, you discard 2. I don't think that's a May. You play me, discard 2, then draw 2. I don't believe he discarded 2. A lot of cards read.
Legion.
Oh, right.
Legion.
It didn't target.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're so right. I missed the Legion part.
Of course. Yeah, no worries. So opting now to hook on it and probably trying to see that Harness Dragon or potential. Oh, we get a little insight on the list.
Lots of Void Seekers there. You don't see that too often from Darius.
Yeah, a bit not quite what he wants to hit, but it's better than nothing, I guess. I mean, ideally, you'd probably again want to see a dragon, see like maybe the Karma. Something that's going to let you immediately start contesting. The Kaisa might be able to do that on the next turn onto the Candlelit, and obviously Kaisa Candlelit is like a really strong combo. You get to look at your deck and then kind of pick what card you're going to draw, or even a random card, but it was an expensive turn in terms of power, right? We're already back down to 3 runes, which when you're playing more top end, you just don't really want to see.
I mean, you make an excellent point. In terms of rune economy, MLGesus was on the draw. You're supposed to be ahead in terms of runes, and finding himself exactly 50% behind, 3 to 6 total runes right now. Now I think it's time for Batsu's time on this baited hook. I know ML really was trying to hit that Harness Dragon, sacrificing a 5 might unit, looking for a 6 might unit, but in this occasion, a 3 might unit, the best hit you can. I kind of say that, but honestly, there is a good 3 might unit in the deck being Draven. Maybe not the best early on, but you are at 3 points, so that is a 6 might. But okay, I think this one is probably best, if not second best unit you could hit.
Batsu finds those captains like it's his job.
Right.
Love to see it.
Yeah, they're best friends at this point. So getting so many tokens out on the base for now. So looking to conquer, if he does have things like a grand strategy, and he has an epic turn in these in a couple turns when the time is right. If he gets up to that 6 nice and even points, a grand strategy with all those tokens will be all she wrote. So passes it back, doesn't have much to do with his own warrens. The Pouty Poro doesn't look like he's going to be sticking around too much longer. I mean, I think we saw one. Was it a Darius that had a Call to Glory? It was a spicy deck. I was like, whoa, he has. Oh, it was a Victor. It was a Victor that had Call to Glory early on.
Yeah, I do think that the Karma version of this deck, which at this point I think we can pretty confidently say it is the Shanghai Karma version. Not saying that he had not come up with this on his own, but maybe they've come to a similar conclusion. But they did play the Call to Glory, so it would not be super surprising to see a card like that. That being said, yeah,
there he goes. Hiding, okay. just got bombarded with the tokens. So it was a Glory Seeker under all those tokens. But Kaiser gonna be swinging into the Pouty Poro on the Canalit. But that's what those 3 runes were left ready for. The Shen coming down at reaction speed. On top of that, you have shield too, so going up to a total 5 defensive might. This is really good because it looks like there's no assault or there's no cleave coming out from the side of ML.
Yeah, that's kind of worst case scenario. It's why you might make the play that it's just better to swing into Warrens, even though it feels a little bit worse. I think you kind of have to, specifically because if you don't, then you lose your unit and your hook is going to give you no value. Or you could go like the Void Seeker first and then push the Kaisa up, and then you no longer are in threat of that. As it's kind of known that the Darius hook, at least the token version that Batsu plays, is going to be playing Shens in the side deck. And this is kind of the matchup that you'd want Shens for, is like another Darius. Because now you're in a spot where you just don't have a unit, so you can't hook this turn. So now you're playing your vanilla 3, which feels awful. And your opponent still has all these, has a pretty built board.
Yeah, looks like Batsu understanding this matchup, or just having a slightly better, or at least for this matchup, slightly better Darius build, because kind of just getting under the other ML Darius for now, just having stronger, not stronger units, but big, wider units, if you will, just able to push both of these battlefields in a single go, already up to 5 points. And if we look at the total points for ML, he has yet to score a single point. So Zone Warren's gonna be discarding a Hidden Blade, potentially having another one in hand, or just not really needing it for now. I mean, he's only really worried about a Dangerous Duo, which has 3 might on the other side. Draven, now he's talking, going up to 7 might with the 5 he currently, actually I think he's 8 might because he's at 5 right now.
Yeah, I feel like this Karma build definitely does not like playing into the mirror match, as the cards like the Harness Dragon and then the buffed units are going to trade a lot better into the taller stuff. Like I said before, like the Yi, I imagine the Harness Dragon just destroys, because you just say, hey, I kill your unit. What are you going to do about it? But when there are infinite tokens on the board and you go pretty wide, it's a lot harder because your dragon isn't doing nearly as much.
Right. And we got to see Batsu being a bit of a human for once, not hitting off the crazy matron as we've seen before, just going for kind of a undervalued, not undervalued, but kind of going under the total might he sacrificed. So sacrificed a 3, got out a 2 might unit, but it does get the buff being played off Legion, of course. So it's not the worst. Kind of just 1 for 1 there. You put the Vanguard Captain in the trash for a potential matron play in the future. Passes it over. And now it's in ML's hand, because look at the board difference. So much development on Batsu's side. A Draven, some tokens, the 2 Glory Seekers, I guess 8 token. Well, the 3 on the board total. So a bit of a tall task for ML. I'm interested to see how he's going to approach these next couple of turns, because they're very pivotal.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult here, because what you have to do is you have to not only conquer and start getting some points on the board, but you have to take the battlefields. You have to remove the Draven with like the Harness Dragon, maybe off a hook, maybe you play some other removal or something, because what ends up happening is if you don't, then then Batsu can just shove up go to 6 and say, okay, now I can just hold all my units in base, and then threaten a stratagem, which, I mean, it's really hard. I hope he has a plan. Like, we just discarded a dragon off of the Zon Warren, so clearly not opting to play that, as we are only at 6 runes, as we did have to recycle pretty aggressively early. And unfortunately, our duo is only a 6-drop as well. 6-drop, a 3-drop, so we can't like into a dragon or anything. Okay, here comes our Darius.
Yeah, and that looks to be the first card played, so it doesn't come in ready just yet, but has essentially 2 energy to work with. One from the leader, or he did play, what did he play earlier?
I don't think he played anything. He might just be shortcutting something.
Yeah, I think he's preparing to ready it. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so does end up playing the Glory Seeker to activate the ready ability. That's definitely going to be way more than enough to take down the single token, but this clap back is looking fierce from Batsu. There's so much on the board, and every single rune on ML side is completely tapped out. Darius isn't known for playing anything. I mean, most legends, honestly, aren't known for playing things with 0 runes. You know, and a little side note while we see these plays play out, I got caught a little bit off guard because I thought Sett was the only legend that could play essentially 0 cost spells. I was playing against a volleyball player and he played a sky splitter because he had enough might, he had enough unit, a high enough unit to play that for 0. I was like, dang, okay, I got to be careful with that in the future.
Yeah, no, the volley has access to some pretty cool spells, and it's a shame that volley isn't a little bit better. Maybe we'll get some cool support in Sett too, because volley is such a cool archetype. I'm a huge fan of the really big dudes. Say, I'm going big. What are you gonna do about it? But
Right. Yeah, it would be cool to see him do some better things. I mean, he's usually did pretty good. Barfling takes him afar, but just didn't draw too good in that Kaiser matchup. But Draven bringing Batsu all the way to 7 points. He could kind of just sit back, let ML do what he can if he has a grand strategy. And he's at 4 runes right now, goes up to 6 next turn, so does have enough to get it done. Or he might not even have to rely on something like that. There's only a Glory Seeker on the current board for ML, so there's not too much. I mean, granted, we do see Darius's and Darius decks, of course, so that could come in swinging. But how are you taking down a Draven and a Darius in a single turn? And to make matters worse, you're going to be protecting it a little bit stronger with the manufacturer plus the tokens, so splitting out the might evenly. Total of 10 on one side, and then total, what is this, 6, 8, 10, 11. So pretty well split so far.
being 7.
Oh,
If only we had seen this a little bit earlier, that would have been very good. Unfortunate.
very good, but it doesn't really look like it's going to accomplish too much. Batsu's already just at 2 cards in hand, but what it will accomplish is dwindle this board presence down. Of course, probably going to choose to leave one Draven and probably the highest might unit on the Candlelit, most likely the Darius. But NA, that was all his runes. I think this is a concession.
I think so as well, as at this point there isn't anything you can hit. Yeah, just showing his hand. I think yeah, that'll be game. I think the ideal scenario is you're able to divine judgment them, hit like a Darius off a hook, and then conquer one. But even that is like, how are you getting rid of the Draven the next turn, right? But yeah, I think that was a bit unfortunate. I think MLGesus had a cool build, but maybe not the best into this matchup, as the hook, the very aggressive token hook Darius can be really difficult for decks to deal with, especially on that war camp when he goes 3 captains and a matron in one game. 12 with the merchant, if again all of or the merchant, yeah, if all of these hiddens are like immediately playable, like you said, like can consult the pasts or other things. But at the same time, do you really want to attack into the tide? What's he called? The Tide Turner, which has 2 hiddens, 2 annoying cards.
Double Teemo, bringing that up to 8 might on top of the 2, so 10 total might just be defending the Banlo tree. But let's see what the Showstopper is able to do. I think he did not have a buff to start the turn, so does pay a power here. So getting a buff onto the Brawler. Does he decide to let go of the buff and for that +4 might? But no, just going with the buff. So just currently 5 might to the Emerald. This is risky. What this kind of tells me is there's a good amount of pump spells, potentially a Call to Glory, maybe even the Primal Strength as we saw in that quarterfinals.
We could see like another Showstopper as well, right? Because this will, when the set does lose the combat, because it will lose the combat, it does like provide, it lets you use that arena bar to potentially pump them up further. And then again, another Showstopper. And I imagine probably seeing multiple combats this turn. I can't see a reason you would do a play like this otherwise. That being said, I mean, Teemo is kind of okay with some of this because you're like, hey, I'm just gonna keep shoving you back over and over. Like, what are you gonna do
Mm-hmm.
about it?
Well,
Uh,
keep in mind though, it was a showstopper, so it wasn't a standard move onto the Hillock.
mhm.
So it's still readied right now. So he does have a ganking available to him to hop over the Bandle Tree if this conquer, if this attack goes through. So Hidden Blade will be deployed onto the Ember Monk, leaving behind the lonely traveling merchant. I think this will be a conquer favoring Sett. And then if he lets go with the buff, gets a buff for the conquer. Oh no, it's not reaction speed. You can't do that. You can't do that.
No, but he does have the opportunity here to spend the buff and then shove over onto the Tidebringer. Though I imagine you probably wouldn't, right? Because if you are reading like actual combat tricks, rather than consult the past. Wait, let's think about it. So you do the move, you use the buff, do the move. He will be at what, 9 or sorry, 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then Teemo is a +4, so that puts the 6. So he still does win that.
If
What
it's a
is the
double
play here?
Teemo though, you never know what these sneaky Teemo players are hiding so many cards. One of them will be a stacked deck, or not one of the hidden cards, but a card being played out on the opponent's turn will be the stacked deck. Unfortunately, won't be able to do much with it. It's just going to be a card he's trying to capitalize on using his runes on his opponent's turn. So trying to make a play for the following turn. Looking at the top 3 saying, what can benefit me? Do I have things like a Sprite Mother to conquer the open Willock or Hillock, Windswept Hillock now that is empty? I'm curious to see. So it will be the fight or flight, sending it back. And that's probably the best card against Sett, especially when there's no deflect units to use it on, where it's just a clean 2 cost or playing it from the hidden field, pushing that Sett Brawler back.
Okay, so choosing to play the first mate without using the arena bar, so maybe opting to save the arena bar for the first mate. Yeah, I guess that does make sense because if you are confident that your combat is going to go through, which it does to a Teemo, right? Then he's going to get the buff off of his own ability, and then you can just give the buff to the first mate. So, yep, makes sense there. And okay, using his whole hand, there is nothing left.
And it's so ironic. We saw Prismat pass with an empty hand. And now look at the hand Teemo has developed from a consult the pass, a stacked deck. And what else was he able to get? How was he able to get so many cards? Wait a minute.
Hidden Blade.
Hidden Blade, that's what it was. Hidden Blade on his own unit. So 2, 2, and 1. So quite impressive. And now on the other hand, we're seeing Sett pass with no cards in hand. So quite straightforward maths, if you will, from the Teemo player. He just needs to get done what he needs to get done. Clear the current board state. Clear the units on Sett's side. Of course, a whole lot easier said than done. Something like a Singularity can maybe do something. But Sett's ability, one of the best abilities in the whole game of Riftbound. Able to save the Brawler if he does have... Granted, he doesn't even have... Oh, no, he does have the runes for it. It's just not looking too ideal right now.
Yeah, going up to 6 here, this does mean that if Teemo is able to hold, it makes things pretty awkward for Sett, right? Because it is on the Windswept Peak, which means you can pretty easily gank over it. And Teemo has a lot of ways to push stuff off of battlefields, like we said before, with like the fight or flight. And Teemo is pretty ramped as well, so you do still see the potential of things like the Watcher or like a Mundo plus a Ride the Wind, or even just like a Singularity move. A lot of ways to get that battlefield cleared. Whereas Sett here, I mean, you have to attack into the hidden. You knew he drew like eight cards across the last 2 turns, so
Right.
there's probably at least a single good hidden. And you only have 1 card in hand, so almost everything is known. And Prismat can, like you said, kind of calculate things perfectly and account for anything that one last card could be.
Mm-hmm. At this point, Sett is just praying for good top decks. Not in a position Sett players want to find themselves, but the hidden card will be the Teemo. So up to 4 might. So collectively 8 total might defending the Hillock so far. Is that going to be enough? Is that final card in Sett's hand a little bit of a buff? It looks like it won't. gonna be trading. It will come at the expense of an exhausted rune, but you're gonna be holding it down. There's no 1-2 punch. Sett decides to save it, so deploys the Sett ability here. But what I meant by 1-2 punch is there's no playing a unit plus a first mate or playing a unit plus a showstopper. So this Teemo is most likely going to be holding it down, earning Prismat that 7th point. And Sett's still having a pretty much top deck from this position. I think Teemo looking quite good to be the second player heading into our finals today.
Yeah, I think your only option here is like showstopper, but yeah, we just see that that's not happening. And now you are trying to hold when your opponent can just say, okay, like deal with my battlefield. I'm at 7 points. Like it's hard. It's definitely hard. I mean, the Watchers game, at least now we have established that because we've put him up to 7. Okay, there we go.
And hey, who
Makes it
needs to
easy.
hold when you can conquer? So you push back the Brawler to try to hope for a push onto the Teemo, but the Watcher, one of the best cards, if not the best card coming out from these blue decks, getting the job done. -3 on the Kingpin, bringing him down to just 4 total might. And that is GG. Prismat is going to be going head to head against Darius or Batsu. Man, if you told me at the start of the day that we're going to have a Teemo Darius Grand Finals, I would have never believed you.